would read you a book, The 101 Dalmatians, adapted by Peter Bentley. Hopefully I don't get mugged for cuddles from my Dalmatian during the story. Once there were 2 Dalmatians named Pongo and Mrs. They lived with Mr. and Mrs. Dearly in a big house in London. "Dear Pongo," said Mrs. one day, "we are going to have puppies." "Oh no, it's Cruella de Vil. What's she up to?" But Mrs. didn't have just 1 puppy, or 2, or 3. She had 15. Look at all of them. The biggest puppy was Patch. Ali. He looked after Tiny Cadpig, the smallest of them all. So that looks like Patch and Cadpig with him there. Lucky was the bravest. Which one do you think he is? Maybe him swinging from the lampshade. And Roly-Poly made everyone laugh. I think that one is him, isn't it? One afternoon, a woman came to the house. Her name was Cruella de Vil. "What delightful dogs," declared Cruella. "I will buy them all." Ali. There we go. That's my Dalmatian Ali. "We'll never sell them," Mr. Dearly firmly said. "Pity," muttered Cruella as she left. They would make an enchanting fur coat. Pongo growled. "I don't like Cruella de Vil," he said. "Nor do I," said Mrs. "She's enough to frighten the spots off of a pup." Not long afterwards, Pongo and Mrs. went out for a walk. But when they returned, had a nasty shock. Where were the puppies? "Perhaps they're hiding," said Pongo. But they were nowhere in the house. Look, they've searched the whole house. "My poor pups had been stolen," wailed Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. Dearly called the police. They put adverts in the newspapers, but it was no use. The puppies had vanished. That evening, Pongo and Mrs. sat on a nearby hill and barked. "Help!" they cried. 15 Dalmatian puppies stolen." Many dogs heard them, but no one had seen the puppies. But then, from far away, all the way over here, they heard an old sheepdog. "I have seen your puppies," he barked gruffly. "They are at a house called Hell Hall." "We must go there and rescue them," said Mrs. "You're right," said Pongo. "We will leave tonight." When the Dearlys were asleep, Pongo and Mrs. slipped silently from the house. Very sneaky. They ran through the freezing streets and out into the countryside. On and on they went, through the sleeping villages and frosty fields. At last they reached Hell Hall. The old sheepdog greeted them warmly. His name was the Colonel. "What a frightening house," said Mrs. "It belongs to a woman named Cruella de Vil," said the Colonel. "I knew it," said Pongo. "Cruella stole our puppies." The house was surrounded by a high wall. How would the dogs get in? How do you think? It's a really big gate, isn't it? The Colonel knew a way. He led Pongo and Mrs. into an old tower. When they reached the top, Mrs. peeped out and gasped. She could see our puppies and dozens more. Look at them up in the tower and the sheepdog Colonel. Look at them all. That's a lot of puppies. Cruella has been collecting Dalmatian puppies, said the Colonel. She wants to make them all into spotty fur coats. Then we must save them all, said Mrs. 2 men came out of the house. That's Saul and Jasper. They are guarding the pups for Cruella, but they spend most of their time watching television. Don't they look funny? Very little and very tall. That evening, Pongo and Mrs. crept up to the house. There's Lucky, cried Mrs. Mum, Dad, exclaimed Lucky. We knew you'd rescue us. Come on, I'll take you to the others. If we're quiet, Saul and Jasper won't notice a thing. Look, they're watching telly again. Suddenly they heard a voice outside the door. Saul! Jasper! Where are you? Pongo and Mrs. froze. They had heard that voice before. Look at them all sleeping. Wonder if that's Roly sleeping on the floor. It was Cruella de Vil. The whole country is looking for those pups, snarled Cruella. I want you to make them into spotty fur coats tonight. She slammed the door and went upstairs to bed. I'll take ages to go round all these pups, grumbled Jasper. Let's watch some more TV first. Aren't they lazy? Now's our chance to escape, whispered Pongo, as he and Mrs. silently led the pups out through a kitchen window. On the way, they ate everything in sight. Look at them all eating all her eggs. Cruella won't have any breakfast. Ha ha, laughed Pongo. Serves her right, said Mrs. Look at them sneaking out the window. Soon the Dalmatians were all out of the tower and on the other side of the wall. Cruella is sure to come after you, said the Colonel. You must leave at once. It's a long way home, frowned Mrs. The puppies are too small to walk all that way, especially Cadpig. Don't worry, smiled the old sheepdog. Cadpig can ride in Miss Toy Cart. That's a very clever idea. Good idea, said Pongo. Thanks for your help, said Mrs. My pleasure, said the Colonel. Goodbye and good luck. Oh no, Cruella. The Dalmatians raced bravely through the night, but it wasn't too long before the puppies grew cold and exhausted. And then it started to snow. We'll never make it to London, sighed Pongo. Toot toot! That's Cruella's car, cried Mrs. It's coming this way. Look at them all running, and there's Cadpig in his toy cart. Cruella was getting closer, but there was nowhere to hide. Then Mrs. spotted a big van parked nearby, and sitting in the back of a van was a little terrier. Look at him, he's very small. Help! Barked Pongo. We're being chased. You're the missing Dalmatians, said the terrier. Quick, jump in. The Dalmatian scrambled into the van just in time. Phew. Cruella zoomed right past them. Look, cried Mrs. She's skidding. Look at her evil face. Oh no, I hope she doesn't find them. Crash! Cruella's car slid off the road into a ditch. Well, she shouldn't have been driving so fast. Right, chuckled the terrier. My driver's heading to London. Need a lift? Yes, please, said Pongo and Mrs. It was snowing heavily outside when Mr. and Mrs. Daly heard barking. They dashed to the door and in ran dozens of Dalmatians. Look at them all going through the snow. It's Pongo, said Mrs. And their puppies, cried Mr. Daly. And many more puppies besides, said Mrs. Daly. And they started to count them all. As the Dalys finished counting, the clock struck midnight. Oh, look, it must be Christmas. It's Christmas Day, said Mrs. Daly. Well done, Pongo and Mrs. We've got the best Christmas present ever. 101 Dalmatians. Can we find all the puppies? Where's Cadpig, I wonder? Oh, that must be Patch. Oh, and they're kissing underneath the mistletoe. Oh, and that's the end. Poor Cruella. Lovely. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you soon. Bye.